Good morning and welcome to the Auto Hub Show. Happy Monday to everybody, especially the people on the West Coast who took the time to come up early. Very interesting topic. For full disclosure, I used to work for a website company in auto years ago, so I know a little bit about the topic. I've looked at probably 75,000 dealer websites over the years, so I know a little bit about it. I no longer work for that company, so I won't be dropping a plug for them. We do have a very diverse group of guests. A lot of respect for everyone in the panel, and of course, always happy to have great points of view. So I think I'm going to start with Erin since it's her first time on the show. And obviously she's on the West Coast, so give her a little bit of, patience there since she hasn't as caffeinated as we are probably. So please introduce yourself and share what is the most important part of a dealer website in 2026 in your opinion, Erin?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Erin Zaborac. I'm the Director of Marketing at DealerOn. I grew up in the automotive industry, so I started working at a Nissan Subaru store when I was 15 years old, and I've done about every job in there, so it's been very helpful on my journey here. So dealer websites, that's what we do, obviously, at DealerOn, but it's a really loaded question to start with, because anybody could easily say chat, inventory, engagement tools, but it all boils down to the customer experience. And the most important thing we should all be focused on is our customers able to find what they want, find it quickly, take the next step in the way of their choosing. We all look at dealer websites every day. I'm sure all of us here on this panel do, but the average consumer obviously doesn't. They don't know what model showroom means. They don't know that as an inventory. What they're expecting at the top of the nav might be not what you want to put there. So making decisions for the look and feel and the functionality of a site really needs to put the customer's wants at the forefront. So I guess the most important part of a dealer website isn't a page or a feature. It isn't even what we want. It's the experience and ensuring it caters to your customers.
Fantastic. I agree 100%. Let's ask Phil Lai the next question there on that, because I know you focus on customer experience on websites. Tell us a little bit more about what you're doing and what the results have been changing that experience for customers on websites.
Yes, hi. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. My name is Phil Lee. I'm the president of LESA, the Video Solutions. So, we were the first company that came up with an app that allows the dealership to shoot a walk-around video for every single car they have in their inventory. So, the way I look at it is, dealer websites have, for the most part, hasn't really changed much in the last, let's say, 20 years in terms of interactivity. It's really static photos that dealers are focusing on. However, like for their stores, they do a lot of enhancements, like the physical stores for the showroom, elevator music, free donuts, free coffee, nice couches. But their website is really their virtual showroom today, and they're not really doing enough to keep the customer there. They're spending a lot of money to drive traffic to the website. Also, from what we are trying to show and have a lot of data that does show that is you want to provide them with some sort of engaging multimedia experience, whether it's video, it's a combination of video, photos, and 360 spin, so that they feel they can engage with the car. It's a big purchase, as we know, and they don't want to necessarily go down to the dealership right away. So in today's environment, photos to me is just not good enough anymore. You gotta have something more than that, especially when video is essentially everywhere. Right? People consume more video than they sleep on a daily basis. By the time they take to sleep. So that's from my perspective. I think that's a very big component for dealership websites that they should look into.
Thanks very much. So, Brooke, I know you have no opinions on anything to do with websites. Maybe you can give us your expert opinion on what do you think the most important part of a dealer website is today. And I know if you don't know Brooke, she has a podcast, Facts Not Feelings, so definitely check it out. But let us know what your opinion is, Brooke.
Yeah, well, first off, thanks for having us on the show and bringing all these minds together. I really appreciate it. So for those that are maybe just first hearing me or seeing me or whatever, I do own a company called Easy Consultants Group. We are product agnostic. And as Erin said, like we've been able to sit in a lot, and Erin actually worked together back in the day in our company, and being able to sit in so many seats has allowed us to be who we are. And we don't sell advertising, we don't really that. It's just we go in and hold people accountable. Because of that, we're able to work with. There's not an agency I haven't seen. Well, I will say I'm sure there's something out there, but we've worked with about every agency, every website provider, the mom and pops out there. So we get to see a lot of things. And I'm going to take it a little different way. That as great as technology is, and those that have been following me long enough to know that I'm a big fan of technology and AI and all that, it comes down to process. I don't care how pretty the website is. I don't care how many freaking CTAs you put on the site. If that CTA says get e-price, what the hell is your processing house? Because now the consumer is expecting to have a lower price. You're going to start putting unlock. We can get into the FTC portion of that. It's a whole other conversation. But if we're putting unlock price, what is the processing house? Oh, we saw this great from the NADA. Great. How does that interact with your people, process, and products? So as great as the customer experience, if that customer experience is, as Erin says, it's super, super important. But if our processing house is broken and the consumer is thinking they're getting X, but we're giving them Y, or we're saying, oh, you're going to get the red carpet treatment, and we don't have a red carpet sitting outside for them, we have lost that trust with them. So for me, is all this stuff comes back to the people, process, and product. The product is the website. How is the process? And then how are the people and how are they interacting with that? So that's where I would go with that one.
You're totally right, because you can have the most beautiful website in the world, the fastest website. Get ePrice gives me hives to this day, because you know the internet response that you're getting from a lot of BDCs is, hey, I got your inquiry, when are you ready to come in? You just took me backwards 2 steps. I tried to go forwards and you're yanking me back. So couldn't be more right. I totally agree.
Fantastic.
And it's like, so for those that, and I love, I've got Starbucks like a block for me. There's no way that Starbucks, I'm going to order everything on my phone and then get to Starbucks and they're like, that's cute. Go stand back in line. But yet we do it all the time. So we're going to say that we have this great Amazon experience, but we don't. Now there are some really great dealers out there that actually have that A to Z experience, and that's great. But think about it from that standpoint. If we say that we're doing X and we're telling, screw you, get back in line. Well, then why would I ever go that route? Like, Carvana has made it very clear that there's a portion for that customer out there. And if you're a Stellantis store and you're in a rural area, Stellantis is eating your lunch most likely, and you don't have the money to combat what they're doing right now. So looking at from a process, I'm just going to go back to the process on this.
Thanks very much, Mr. Growden. In your jazzy voice, what do you think on the websites side of things?
Well, I'll take a little bit of a step back, because the reason a consumer is going to a dealership website is really to answer 2 questions, right? And this was echoed in Google's data for like a decade, and the research I've done, third-party research I've done in the last 2 years says the same thing. The 2 decision points the consumer needs, the 2 pieces of information are: I need to know when am I going to pay, and is it actually fucking in stock? Like, do you actually have the vehicle? Do you actually have the vehicle? And what am I going to pay? And that's all that I care about. And everything else is kind of noise. If we took an even bigger step back and thought about web development on the whole, somehow we got the message wrong. This is not uncommon in automotive. All of our messages are wrong. But I said that out loud. A single page on any website is usually supposed to have a single task. And so your other question around, are there too many? It's a leading question, Ian. Are there too many CTAs on a dealership website? Not only are there too many, the average consumer doesn't know what they are, right? Which is kind of Brooke's point. They look at this, and so one of the most successful CDAs I've seen, call to actions I've seen on a dealership website, is simply the words, I'm interested. Right? Because it speaks the language that the consumer understands. Like, I am interested, so I will click that button. But everything else is just kind of bullshit and noise, or it's too far down the funnel, or you're like, how do I find my VIN? Like, how do I find my VIN? Why would I give you that if I could find it in the first place? Also, what the fuck is it? So the consumer doesn't know any of the things, and we create these really horrible experiences that actually are counterintuitive to the thing we want, which is to get the person into the dealership. And that's why they generally avoid us, right? That's why they don't want to talk to us. But yeah.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I think the Las Vegas CTAs are clearly a problem for dealer websites. The more of them, the worse. Especially if they're color coded and they flash like a Vegas sign. I think that's
this one.
Yeah. That's a bad idea, but that's just my
And Matthew, to your point, there are quite a few, I'll just call them system tools out there that they default to VIN. I'm sorry, I don't know my VIN, and I'm in the industry, but there's no, let me just rattle off the 10th digit of pi for my VIN. Like, no, I'm not going to know that. But it defaults to that. They're going to know their year, make, and model most likely, or at least their year in the make. But yet, go through and take a look at even that's a stretch. But given VIN versus year, make, I'm gonna decide on the fact they know that.
Right.
100%.
Right. So if we actually wanted someone to fill out a form, which, it's a big ask and people don't like doing it, then maybe let's just ask them for the things they know, like their name and their email address. Because anything else is probably too far afield for the average consumer, which is why they don't fill them out.
100%. Jack, we didn't mean to be ignoring you. Tell us more about you and what you're doing and what your thinking is on what the most important part of a dealer website is.
Sure. Like, I don't feel ignored, so don't think that. But yeah, nice to meet everyone here. My name is Jack Carlson. I'm the co-founder of Carvia.Ai. Our whole focus is just keeping people on the site longer. Engagement time is the whole focus. And I think Phil talked a bit about this as well as a critical piece, but there's a lot of good research about it. The longer you can keep people on the page, the more often they're going to convert, the higher chance they're going to convert. And I think, Matt talked about this a bit. There's a few questions that people are looking to answer on the site, but if you look at like the whole customer journey, when people are asking all these questions about a car, because cars are super complex and more every single day, these trim packages are just crazy. And the amount of text that's just dumped on the VDP in its current form, the historical way of just via a data dump with all the options listed out, these big sheets of information. It's just not how people read. And it's a good reason for people to jump off the site and go to Google, go to ChatGPT and say, hey, what's in the platinum trim of this XC90? I have no idea. I'm gonna go to Google. I want to be served all of the other ads of all the other dealerships in my location. And I think like the focus right now and what's important for dealer sites in 2026 is we have the ability to answer these questions rather than just dumping data. Instead of making our customers do the research themselves and read through all these catalogs and PDFs of information, like you can just give them the answers. You can put it in plain English, like we're going to get in an AI overview. You can do that on the site. And I think that's the focus right now. It's just giving answers properly rather than just spewing data at the customer.
Fantastic. Peter, I know you have opinions on this. I mean, what's your thought, being that the average consumer spends somewhere between 11 and 15 hours online before they even decide on the vehicle model or dealership they're going to visit? But more importantly, they usually only visit one dealer unless that dealer screws it up, and then they visit maybe a 0.2 at the end there. What do you think?
Well, and I think the point you just made is really important. I love what everyone said, and I agree completely, especially with what Matt about people want to know what the price is and do you have it in stock. But the biggest thing is with the website, in my opinion, is you have to build a relationship. Because, if you're selling a Ford, there's 5, 6, 7 other Ford dealers in the same market. They're all throwing price out there. If you can build that relationship, and I think one of the things that's missing on dealership websites is testimonials. We always talk about the Amazon process. We are now trained by Amazon on how we want to shop. The Amazon process, we're all used to it. We're comfortable with it. We go there, we can look at a product we want, we can compare prices. But what most people do is they look down, they look at the reviews. Before they're going to make that product purchase, they're going to look at some reviews. Well, we're not really looking for reviews about a car, but we're looking about reviews for the dealership. And I think that's one of the areas, and Phil mentioned it as well, video reviews are very powerful because there's no loyalty in the car business today. That's one of the things that's missing. Dealers have not done a good job of building loyalty, building those relationships. But video and testimonials are a great way to do it, because if someone goes to my website, I want to capture them there. I want to give them all the information, make sure I give them the pricing, let them know the vehicle's in stock, but give them an Amazon type comfortable experience, because your virtual showroom is your first chance to get them to actually come into your dealership. And I believe it was Erin that said, and I agree with you, Erin, 100%. Nothing drives me crazy when I'm talking to a dealer and someone from the BDC calls up, hey, when would you like to come in? All I want is a price. I'm not looking to come in, So I think we need to change that experience a little bit And I love what everyone's saying on the panel today.
I need to say, I ran a BDC and I love BDCs and good BD, like, this is not a bashing and nobody's bashing, but it's Brooke said it best, where you can't disconnect. Digital retailing, digital shopping is the best example of that. I built my payment. I did everything. I might not have told you, because dealers, we're talking CTAs. Guess who doesn't love a CTA? Guess who doesn't care about a CTA is a shopper. Because what percentage are actually filling out a form and actually submitting a lead? So when we focus so much time optimizing for leads or for CTAs, we are missing out on the great majority of people visiting your website who will still spend money with you. And it's just as important. But I love BDCs and I love internet managers and responses.
So what's your opinion on CTAs? I mean, I know some of the forms are a little crazy. And I think that, having someone fill out 10 fields is insanity in 2026. But what's your opinion? I mean, obviously you guys integrate with a lot of CTAs on your websites. I mean, what's your opinion on, what CTAs should a dealer have and maybe ones that really are a bad idea? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's where matters a lot. The SRP, when you're talking about Amazon, there's things I buy on Amazon on the reg. Breathe right strips. I have terrible allergies, sleeping at night, nerd alert. I buy breathe right strips often. I'll tell you what I have never in my life done is clicked buy now or purchased from the SRP. Even a product that I buy all the time over and over again, I want to go to the details page. I'm checking reviews, not on these, but on other items, Peter, to your point. So SRP, when I see too many CTAs, that's a problem because I'm not ready to make my decision yet. All I see is the picture. I see the price, great, but I need to know more. I want all the info. So, 1 to 3 on the, oh yeah.
Can I quickly interrupt you there?
Yeah.
So on the SRP, I don't know if you guys have done some research. Does consumer like to jump in and out of VDPs, or they want to just browse on the SRP first, and then once they narrow down to the vehicle they want, and then they'll go to the VDP because they don't want to jump in and out. It's kind of, people are always on the go, so to speak. Have you done any research on that?
Yeah, and actually the highest converting customers, they are looking at multiple VDPs. They are, to your point, video matters, photos matter. But I mean, think about your purchase. And again, Brooke said, the Amazon experience, everything that we're used to, how do you purchase? How do you shop? Are you looking at one car and you're like, well, yep, I'm good. Let's go. That's the one. No, absolutely not. I want to look at more. I'm looking at similar vehicles because that's what Amazon does. It brings me in, it draws me in. So words matter. We talked about it earlier too. The words that we see on CTAs perform the best, availability. So,
Shocker.
To Matthew's point, tell me it's there. Tell me you're not a tricky, shyster who I'm going to get there and it's not there. But I think it's important. The details page is where decisions are made. And that's where we see most of our photo and our video interaction as well.
Fantastic. We got a comment from Anthony Brennan. He says he loves the content. I'm seeing he's got a question. But anyway, go ahead, Peter. You had a comment there? You're muted, man.
I'm sorry. I'm muted. One of the things that I want to throw out, because this is interesting, we're talking about the VDP page and searching, and this is more about for used cars. But we do a lot of work with dealers on with their CRM and follow up with email marketing campaigns. And what we found is about 60% of the customers who put a lead in, 2 weeks later, when they go back and they're kind of followed up, that car that they originally put a lead in for is no longer available. So that's created an interesting point. So one of the things we talked about Amazon, if you notice when you're doing your search on Amazon, it says people also looked at this. This is one of the areas why I think dealers might want to consider doing some of this, where I may be looking at that Ford F-150, but maybe I might want to look at a couple other vehicles, a couple of used options, giving the consumers a little bit more experience, a little bit more of a opportunity to see more of what you have, could be done as well.
Yeah, we do that with Signals personalization. We have for you recommendations, and it puts a big frame and it says, hey, this is for you. Based on what you like, this is what you'll like. So it's absolutely, you've got to give that non-auto shopping experience on your website, because people don't shop for a car online every day. Too bad. They shop online every day. So they know how to shop online. They know how to browse. I sure do. That's for sure.
Fair enough.
That's
Jack,
right. So
what,
I can't
oh, go
remember who
ahead.
said this earlier,
Go ahead, bro.
real quickly. Is so like for those who don't know, there's actually a scientific law. It's called Hicks' law, and what it means, what it states, is that the more decision you give someone, the longer they're going to take to make that decision. For anyone that's out there is like, ask your significant other, hey, what do you want for dinner? Like, I don't know. And then you have like a 20-minute conversation and you end up like a Chick-fil-A or whatever. If you were to turn to your spouse or significant other and say, hey, do you want tacos? Or do you want Italian? Oh yeah, I want tacos. You've made it so much more simple for that person to make that decision. The same thing applies when you have 20 CTAs on your site. The customer has this button overload and button fatigue and doesn't know where the hell to even click. So simplify that. Now, the other side of that is I'm starting to see a few people, we'll leave it at that, that are saying, oh, don't have any CTAs on your site. Well, where the heck am I supposed to click then? Because a consumer, if I just see the second biggest purchase I'm going to make, and there's not even like, I'm interested, call for whatever the heck it's going to be. There's nothing there, then where are we trying to direct that customer? So I'd also take a look at that as well, just to, hey, how many CTAs do I have on my site? If I have 2, I'm happy with 2 or 3. When you start looking at, hey, I've got 5 here, and then underneath I got window sticker, this, I've got all the different tools on our site. Now you're up to like 30. Where do you want me to click? And then trying to measure the ROI, and it gets really, really difficult because it spreads so thin.
Great.
Well,
Great
Brooke,
point.
let me ask you a question. What in your mind are the 2 top CTAs that a dealer should have on their site?
It's going to depend on process for sure. So if you look at like stats, window sticker gets clicked on an obscene amount of times. Like Erin, I'm sure that you know this as well. Like, it is crazy how often. Now, is that going to drive a lead? No. But if you actually look at the raw data, you better have window sticker on your website, because that is getting clicked on, probably the number one thing that's being clicked on. Then it comes down to, I would A/B test the verbiage on the CTA. So let's say you have a chat provider. That chat provider, I'm a dealership, I'm training my entire sales team, my BDC team, whomever. When that chat goes in, every single CTA, for the most part, I'm going to, hey, you can talk to a live person. And I see that work. Hey, ask us a question. Now that won't work if it's going to an AI bot and the AI is just thinking of what you want it to say, or doesn't know now you've just disconnected. The whole experience has been disconnected. So if you look at, get e-price, which I don't like, and Erin, I think you touched on earlier, I'm not a fan of that one for a lot of reasons, but change the verbiage of saying, hey, what is something I'm interested? Yeah, checkability, I see both. Sometimes I see it work really well, but it's because of how it's being coded in the background. So it looks a lot better than what it really is. But the person's like, well, I don't see anything else, so I'm just going to click on this. So it's kind of a difficult question to answer, because I'd have to see the site on that. But I do know that window sticker gets clicked on an obscene amount of times.
Fantastic. Jack, what's your thought on CTA?
Yeah, I mean, I think what Brooke is saying is like kind of spot on. I think there's these mid-funnel conversion actions. Like everything's really focused on bottom of the funnel and getting someone to get that CTA information in and get them to convert and get a lead in, get someone to the dealership. But there's a lot that happens in mid-funnel. Like the consumer journey is not linear, as we all know. And someone was going to come on the site, and then I come on the site before they're ready to come into the store and they want to do some research. I think things like window sticker, things like I'm interested, but I'm still kind of feeling things out. I'm not entirely sure what I want to get yet, but I might want to talk to someone, or I just want to get more information in the car. I think those things are critical, and I think this focus on bottom of the funnel for every single thing, might be a bit misguided. And I think there's a lot of research that still happens on the VDP that isn't at the end of my purchase decision. People are going to come to the VDP, they're going to leave, and they might come shop 2 weeks later, like Peter said. And I think giving people options that are earlier on in the funnel on the VDP lets you own more of the customer journey. And I think the more over the customer journey that you can own, the better. And doing that earlier on. And I think, like Mathew said, the best one is just I'm interested. Giving people a bit of optionality there, I think that's fantastic. But again, just more mid-funnel, I think is worthwhile to explore.
Fantastic. So we have DJ back. Hopefully we had a great meeting. DJ, what's your thought on CTAs, and what's the most important CTAs a dealer should have on their website?
Well, first off, having them is important. I go through so many dealership site audits where we've got these beautiful banners and images and offers, but there's no button. how do I engage with the offer, or with what I'm seeing? So first off is having a call to action button, having some way to engage with the offer. But at the same time, having too many buttons, that can also be a problem. That can confuse people, so you don't want to do that either. But having them is absolutely necessary. I look at dealer websites day in and day out, doing site audits and whatnot, so gotta have them.
Cool. So Mathew, I know you're going to talk about number 1 and number 2. I mean, what's the magic number with CTAs, and what ones do you think people should have?
Well, I think it may be different dealership to dealership and brand to brand, and maybe different new to used, and it may be different vehicle to vehicle. But I think the two things, like when you look at, again, how do people actually interact with the dealership, when people are clicking on the window sticker, it's a validation point that the vehicle is real, right? Because if they don't have the window sticker, or if it's not there yet, then it may not be in inventory. So it's further validation that that's a real vehicle that I can actually buy. It also gives the consumer the opportunity to compare, what does that window sticker PDF say versus the price that's on the website. So it goes back to two fundamental questions around, is it in stock, what am I going to pay? But the two things, the way people interact with the dealership, number one is they just show up, right? They choose not to fill out the lead, they choose not to call, they wait till the evening or Saturday or Sunday when the store is closed, so they don't have to talk to anyone, and they go look at the car when no one is there. Number two is the phone. So the weird thing is, and what would probably actually be more effective than a lot of the things we put on a VDP, would be a clearer call to action, actually call the dealership. But then, kind of pointing from number one, number two to some of your other questions is, we have to remember that all of that interaction is happening here.
Yeah.
Right. And so when we're doing audits, when we're looking for the people just listening, that's my phone. I held up my phone. But that it's got to work in mobile. And often the problem with all of the conflicting CTAs, and then here, whether it's a get e-price or value my trade or blah, 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 blue book, black book, blah, all of that shit conflicts. And then you throw in a chat widget and I can't click on the phone number anymore. Right? Like, it breaks everything else. So the desire to over CTA often crushes some very basic usage. And that's a problem. But that's like, I mean, I don't want to throw an entire wrench into all this right now, but that's assuming, and Philip, you asked a question about, do people want to go back and forth between the CTA and the SERP, the VDP and the SERP, and the answer is no, they don't want to do that. But also that assumes that they got to the search results on the dealership website in the first place. Because I think if they're using the on-site dealer search, that's sort of an experience error. That most of what happens today is either through a vehicle ad or a well-placed organic link in search, or an AIA, an automotive inventory ad on Meta. They're going straight to the VDP anyway, right? Most of the traffic, and this is true in e-commerce, this is true in any business that sells something online, that what you want to do as the person promoting those things that you are selling is get them to that place where they can see the thing you're selling. And anything else is distraction. Like, anything else is kind of in the way.
And now a quick word from some of our sponsors. Here we go.
If you look at the last 4 years again, we've answered 41 million phone calls for dealers over the last 4 years with our AI platform. We've also handled over 150 million text messages. And so when you look at just those raw numbers, that's a 4 to 1, 3.5, 4 to 1 text to phone call. So I don't know. Here's what I can tell you, though. I believe that the customer wants to be met where they are presently. If that is text, voice, video call, if they want to be engaged and engaged instantly.
I'm Vince Delmonico, General Sales Manager with Cruise Ford Lincoln. Larry Feldman came out and did one of our training courses. Absolutely incredible. I sat through the course myself. The engagement that our salespeople gained from it, the excitement that he brings, it was a new way of looking at things that we're already doing and how we can improve them. Love it. It's literally the best thing since sliced bread.
My name's Fareed Ahmed. I'm the founder and CEO of DSMA. So why should you use DSMA to sell your most valuable asset? The answer is very simple. It's our unparalleled approach to our clients' needs and satisfaction. Remember, DSMA, we're real people doing real deals.
Meta, Instagram, social, and your team is still waiting for ups like it's 1999. Let's be honest. Your market isn't watching TV commercials. They're double tapping and engaging with your competitors on social media posts. People are shopping these days for cars and servicing their vehicles in between watching cat videos.
Thanks for that. So, Phil, maybe you wanted to comment on the CTAs. I mean, I know you've got probably some research on that.
Yeah, that's why I asked Erin the question. From what we're seeing is we see a lot of people click on the vehicle video on the SRP, so to me it's similar to when they are on Instagram, right? And they just swiping up and down and looking at stuff, or even on TikTok, right? People like to swipe up and down. And when they find the content that they like, they stay on it a little bit longer. And so we're seeing similar behavior where people do prefer to look at the vehicles that they, let's say they know what model they want, but they don't know, they haven't found the right color, the combination, the options yet. So they stay on the SRP looking, and then once they find something that it looks interesting, they will go into the VDP. So the way I look at it is very similar to, when before the internet. What did people do on Sundays? They walked a lot, right? And so they walk around a lot, and they don't want to be bothered by a salesperson. They want to just browse, and then So what Matt say? They want to know, is the car there? Yes, it's on the lot, right? They know what the price is, and they get to see the car walking around the car, right? The car that's on the lot. So that's visually, those are the three ingredients. Now that everything is virtual, you kind of have to think, but it doesn't change the game. It's the same thing. So when you do it online, I think the process is, the journey is they don't want to be down at the dealership unless they absolutely have to. So they want to be confident in the condition of the car. Just a quick example, I just helped my daughter buy a car this past weekend, actually. So I ended up buying a car, but it took us like a week or so to shop for the car, and we looked at some photos, and I don't understand why dealerships are so enamored with background replacement. I can understand the first photo, but the other ones, it completely just, we saw a car that looked okay from the pictures, but I think it's completely, so the quality is all over the place, right? So when we went down to the dealership, the car has dents everywhere. It has a cracked front bumper. We couldn't tell from the photos because it's been so altered that you can't tell. So I just think that the experience has to be as if they're there at the dealership, right? And so in terms of CTAs, I think. I think from where I'm coming from what I'm seeing is that we do want to have enough information on the SRPs. That's why I was asking Erin if what she saw, because just from our experience, from what we see, but we have a limited. I mean, Erin has so many more dealerships that.
No. But you're right. But you're talking about two different things. Do customers swipe through video and photos on the SRP? Absolutely. And having that capability is crucial. But if you're asking me if customers make decisions and fill out most of forms on the SRP, absolutely not. That is occurring on the VP or elsewhere.
I agree
so
with that.
You can have two things can be true, and they both are, but video matters there, video matters here. I'll tell you what CTAs don't need to be on the SRP is get approved on every single car. What's my trade-in worth? Guess what? As the dealer, I don't care what car you choose. If trade-in or financing is what you care about, I'm going to put that in line so that I reduce the number of CTAs so that as I'm going like this, it's not over and over again. There's a place for everything. It's just figuring out that right place. And so often we forget just what we would like to see as shoppers and consumers. So
That's a great point.
That's the other button that actually works really well for us. We have a price watch capability, so the customer can put their information, let me know when the price changes, and I'll get a notification. That's been fantastic, and that dates back years and years to Synchro days for me. So that's another one that works real well.
Yeah, I mean, I think not to say CarGurus knows everything, but I think that great price or whatever they're doing there, I think is pretty smart. Just because people then are confident that they're not overpaying. I mean, how accurate that is another question. Mr. Mathew, what do you think on speed, video chat, and mobile devices? We know about 70% of consumers only look at stuff on mobile devices today, depending on their age demographic and metropolitan area or region. But what do you think on the speed side? You are muted.
If only we were on mobile, I'm sure it would have been better. If it doesn't work on mobile, it doesn't work. Right? Like if it isn't working on a phone, then it isn't working. And I think the challenge we have, and this, folk at a dealership are not alone in this. It's even, I think it comes down sometimes to web designers. We work on like 32-inch screens. we work on giant, beautiful screens, and then we wonder why it's not converting. And that's because no one picked up the phone to look to see if it works there. So and I just did a presentation for an OEM in Canada, and sometimes I wonder why I still have to say the same things over and over again that I've been saying for the last 10 years. But bygones. Speed kills sales everywhere. Like if your pages don't load, people have choice, and so they will just go back to however they found you in the first place. They will just go back to Google or ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude. Like they will just go back, or Perplexity. They'll just go back to the discovery engine of choice and go, that page didn't work. I'm going to find one that does. And it's kind of with that. Speed kills.
Well, if I could tag on two things on that. Number one is the last thing you just said about AI and Claude. A lot of dealer websites we're finding, this is a whole other topic, a lot of dealer websites we're finding are not AI searchable friendly, which is a big problem. And you fix that. But the other piece I wanted to touch on is you said something about mobile, and mobile is so critical because when we do email marketing, we know that 70% of the people opening our marketing emails for dealers are doing it on a mobile phone. So you're spending money to hire companies like us to go out and do marketing for you. You're sending out your own email campaigns. People are opening them up on their phone. And if your website doesn't work when they click on it, you basically just wasted your advertising time and your lead.
And I think it's even worse than that, Peter, in that the other thing I was trying to convey in that presentation is that the website is just part of a campaign, right? Especially when it comes to a dealership, it's like, you've got upfront media, maybe that's email, maybe that's search, maybe that's meta, whatever it is. You've got upfront media that is sending people to the dealership. And then I think to Brooke's point at the beginning of this session, it's then what happens after that? Like if they actually call, or what happens if they're in touch with their BDC. So this is like a multi-pronged strategy that doesn't just work because the website is great, and usually the website's a piece of shit, so that's a whole other problem. But
whoa, that's right. All right, not my website, somebody else's.
Other people, Erin, of course, other people.
All right.
But it's the and we have a big problem with the combination of AI discovery. Like, are we ready for that? Have we built out? Are we even thinking about schema? Are we doing all the things we need to do to make that website discoverable by AI? I use a demonstration all the time where I point out that if I go to ChatGPT and I give it an explanation of the kind of vehicle I want without naming a brand, just sort of giving it the basic premise of, like, I've got a family of 3 and a dog, we drive a lot, and I'd like to save on fuel, 99.9% of the time the answer is the Toyota RAV4. So if you don't sell Toyota RAV4s, you're kind of fucked, right? Like, the answer is Toyota RAV4. So if we're trusting those tools to provide this direction, and we haven't done the things we need to do to be the answer, then the answer is always going to be Toyota RAV4. And that's the problem if that's not what you sell. But then there's bigger problems that we haven't even touched on, and that is, like, if you followed what Instagram is talking about in terms of what they want to do to their interface, they don't just want to use AI to determine what video they show you. They want to use AI to determine what the UI is for you. They're building a generative user experience that is different for every person. So my version of Instagram is not just going to show me different videos. The application is going to be different for me. And the application is going to be different for Peter and Erin and Ian and Philip and Jack and Brooke and TJ, right? So it's like we're kind of at a really interesting pivot point, an inflection point where like and I will use the word again, and no offense, Erin, our shitty dealership websites are not sufficient for the world that is emerging very quickly, right? Because they don't provide the detail in a way it can be consumed by the large language models, and we're not even thinking about what does a generative UI experience for a website look like for a dealership. I'm pretty sure a dealer doesn't want to pay for that. Like, I think that like the problem is the average deal, whatever that takes, however many tokens it will take to build that experience, which will soon be the expectation of the consumer. If that's the way Instagram is, and that's the way Uber is, then what do we do? And I don't actually have an answer for you today. I'm just presenting the problem.
Understood.
And I think when Matt says the shitty dealer website, what we're talking about is a lot of the providers out there, unfortunately, have a lot of cookie cutter, templated, copy paste. It's literally insert dealer town, insert dealer brand, insert dealer name. And from all the audits I see, a lot of certain website providers will put like a little vertical slash in between each of these three parameters, and you can just tell it's just copy paste. It's just templated. As long as everybody stays templated, everybody's going to look the same. So how do you stand out? How do you differentiate?
It's that, but it's also then the widget problem, right? Like so I replace CTAs with 5 widgets, and now nothing can be tracked as conversion. I throw on an AI chatbot that interferes with my ability to make a phone call, right? I then tag that website with 3 different Google Tag Manager tags and 8 different pieces of JavaScript from widgets and maybe 3 other iframes, and now my page load time sucks and it can't be viewed at all. So it's often I've had this conversation with some other website providers who build really beautiful experiences, and then they're just promptly destroyed once 5 other pieces of code are added to the website.
Well,
And
Matthew,
you hit an intro. Oh, go ahead, Brooke, please.
Okay. Matthew, to your point there, this is I will get on the soapbox on this. I'm so tired of people talking about, oh, you need a fast website. Great. In automotive, that's not going to happen. If you are Amazon, yes, you're gonna have a freaking fast website. Good for you. We're not a typical e-commerce. The OEM has entrusted all these dealerships to say just good, bad, and different. I know we all have opinions on OEMs. I get that. What I want to point out is that the OEM is going to mandate, if you're going to be in program with them, you have to have these 20 that was so hard for me not to swear right there. So many stupid things on your website that are going to slow your website down. So for those that are out there touting how, our websites are so fast, great. Are you OEM compliant? I guarantee you are not. You have to have the 20. You don't need to have this on the side, but I know as our group, we go through and look at every single pixel and tag on the website and say, okay, are you aware you have 10 metapixels on your site? Are you aware you have 30 GTM containers? Okay, which of these ones can be removed? And yet, here's the crazy part. This is not a knock at this website provider, to be very clear. Every website provider has a different version of what is mandatory. You'll have a website provider A say, you got to have these 10, they're mandatory. You do a website switch, and all of a sudden you only need 5 of those. So what's the truth on this? At the end of the day, the dealerships and the client are suffering because the OEM is saying, you've got to do this, you've got to do this, you got to do that, which then leads to much slower websites. Well, it's not passing that. Well, no shit, it's not. Like, try to do this in any other industry, you would have the exact same issue. So we can get into other stuff as well, but I do want to point out that to kind of put this to bed of people that are bragging about time on say page loads, that's great. I want a rip-roaring fast website. However, I am a dealership. If I want to stay in program, if I want to get my co-op money, if I want to do all this stuff, I got to do this. I'm sorry. And so with that, the website providers want to stay in program. They want to get their money. They want to keep their clients. So they've got to have all that crap on the website, even though it's not necessary. And I'm going to stop and breathe because I'll go off here in about 2 seconds.
We could have the fastest websites take off chat, take off every tool you have, don't have any video, but that's a trade-off that you're not willing to make, that you wouldn't want to. So inspecting things, you hit it right. How many GTM containers are there from 3 trade tools ago? It's important to inspect this regularly. So at DealerOn, we have app insights available to show our dealers, here's what's installed on your site, here's the impact. So it isn't just so you can look at the list and chop it all off. You have to look at the trade-off and identify. Having a chat experience or an AI assistant on your website, it's very beneficial to shoppers when done right. So a minimal impact on site speed, probably worth it. Now, dealers have to lean on their website providers to ensure that things are being integrated properly. Because listen, I'll put whatever company you're working with, if you've got a tool, I'll put it on the website. But we have On Marketplace, which is our partner program, that allows us to work with the vendors you're using to ensure that tools aren't just slapped on, that we're not just adding we are adding things in a way that has the least negative impact on core web vitals. And that's how you have to approach things. But yes, could you remove everything and then get your hand slapped everywhere, but have a kick-ass fast website by 3 more seconds? Yeah, maybe. But it's evaluating the trade-off. It's making sure that all of us are working together to keep things clean and tidy. I feel like I make my kids clean my house. We got to clean our website. I don't make my kids clean my house. But we got to take care of it. So there's a lot that goes into site speed. Out of the box, website vendors have an obligation to make sure that things are firing right. Dealers have an obligation too, to continue to inspect. And our OEM partners, absolutely. We're going to work with everybody, but we take a lot of responsibility and we take it really seriously to make sure that dealers get the choice as to what they want on their site and how it impacts that speed.
Fantastic.
I saw a post a little while ago from a company, they have a friend of mine, I'm friendly with this company. They'd just taken over a dealership website, or they were doing digital marketing for somebody and looking at somebody else's dealer website. And it had somewhere in the vicinity of 70 GTM tags on it. 70. And
I've got you beat on that one. I've got 93 as a GTM.
there you go. New record. So,
Yep.
The problem is, and you're right, like there is an OEM challenge around education, around what should be required, what shouldn't be required. There is a dealer education around it turns out you're actually also responsible for your website, the same way you're responsible for your actual physical dealership. And that both are required to sell a car these days. And then and then we have some vendor responsibility in this equation, so it's shared. No one knows who's actually responsible for all these pieces. And in the end, they get penalized by Google because Google's like, I'm sorry, that webpage took 25 seconds to load. So it's no longer the top of search results. And also your CPCs are now $5. So there's math that is a real problem there around the slower those pages are, the shittier the experience is as gauged by Google and then as experienced by the consumer, who can again just go back to search, Perplexity, ChatGPT, and go, give me another dealer that also sells the RAV4.
Fantastic. And you don't get any money from Toyota, I'm assuming.
I don't.
They don't give you a free RAV4 or anything?
It's the answer. It's painful because you go back to ChatGPT, you're like, okay, this is my scenario, and it's like the answer is you probably want the hybrid. Probably get the hybrid.
Jack, what do you think? You haven't said anything in a hot minute.
Yeah, I want this speed conversation is really interesting. I think Erin, you kind of brought up a really good point, specifically about the trade-off and like the what's the actual purpose of a VDP? If we're thinking of VDP specifically here, what are we trying to do with the VDP? And the whole idea is we'll just kind of answer questions. That's it. The whole purpose is to answer questions. And I think there's like speed killing deals, but also like the speed to answer. If you can nail that down, if you're on mobile today and your price is way down at the bottom and all the CTAs are stacked on top, the images, everything's stacked on top. And if someone just wants to know what the answer is of what this costs me and they have to scroll and they're not going to see it right away, you're going to lose that deal. And you just need to try and account for what are the top queries that people are going to be asking and what can I do as the dealer to answer this. And so there's that other metric of like speed to answer. There's speed to get to the page, but also speed to get the answer to the consumer. And if you can't get that answer, then you're kind of just missing them completely. So if you have to make some trade-offs to give someone an AI chat, that might make the site a little slower, but you can answer their questions. I think that's the trade-off we need to think about, is to just answer those.
Yeah, years ago, the average response time was 48 to 72 hours or longer. And shockingly, even today, some dealership websites, it goes into some sort of black hole and no one gets back to you. But if you're looking at it from a response time, I think the expectation from OEMs is less than 5 minutes today. But Phil, maybe you could talk a little bit about this. I know you have something there to speed that up, but more importantly, the quality of it. It's not just response time, it's the quality of that response, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, from my standpoint, we have, like, I think website speed is important, but it was maybe more important 15 years ago, right? When we didn't have 4G or ultra wideband or 5G, they call it. Right? Today, I mean, I think speed is important, but it's not as important as it used to be. I mean, so the speed, to me, the speed question has really been addressed, and it's more now the experience, right? Getting on the site. And what I see all the time is misconception that, video is going to slow down my site. But when was the last time you went to Instagram and YouTube and you say, it takes so long to load the videos? No, I mean, the site loads really fast because all you're loading is thumbnail images or a button. And then when you click on play, that's the point in which data is being streamed, video is being streamed to your phone. So there's a lot of misconceptions. We run into some of the smaller website providers who all they care about is meeting web core vitals requirements. So they refuse to add a button, the video button. So to me, it's the customer experience is more what you should address in today's environment than just constantly worrying about speed. It's going to impact their SEO. When was the last time you were able to have the dealership looked at their SEO and see what kind of SEO placement they've gotten? Because it's so competitive today, it's almost impossible to get to the top. Okay, so I mean, it's dominated by all the Trader Car Gurus and all those major sites. You get it, and even if you get up there, your car's already sold. By the time your car gets up there, what's the point, right? So I don't think it's as advertising has certainly changed in that regard, in my opinion. Yeah.
Thanks very much, DJ. Go ahead.
Real quickly, Phil. I just want to make sure. I love that you brought this up. This is when there was a large push for speed tests, probably like 10 years ago, I want to say, and what no one decided to talk about. Oh wait, that's on 3G. At that point, everyone was on 4G. Now we're on 5G. So it really does depend on what type of speed test that you're using and how you're looking at how you're interpreting that data. Because if you just do it on Google, just understand we're on 5G now. If I remember, it's only on 4G. I believe Google's still on 4G because it looks at the entire world. Well, in the nation, most people are going to be on 5G, maybe 4G. So that will definitely switch that as well.
What do you think on that, Matthew? I mean, talking about speed in Google, you'd probably be the best person to ask.
I think the challenge is as soon as one script hangs, right? As soon as one script hangs on a page, it hangs the page. So you could be on Starlink, right? You can be pulling down 300 megabits per second from space, but if the page craps out, then it doesn't matter. The other thing in that conversation is Google is actually relatively very forgiving. And the problem isn't Google anymore. The problem is that ChatGPT's crawler and Perplexity's crawler are lazy because they don't have the same kind of infrastructure that Google has. So they don't crawl the whole page. They're a little less patient than Google. So if you're, yes, again, we're talking about a world where SEO is, sure, it's still important, but it's now, are you building that experience in a way that is lean and mean and capable of being indexed by the next answer engine that may not be Gemini, may not be Google? And so the other problem is if anyone's actually tried to surf the web while driving across an interstate or across the Trans-Canada Highway, there are giant cell holes. Like there are giant, having worked at a phone company, even in major cities, there are, in the exercise of network shaping, lots of places where the internet doesn't work. So I think the I will stand by my original statement, speed kills, right? It is about making choices, always has been. Every web application is about, like, we want to have the right content. We want to load these beautiful images. We want to have this great video content because we know people will consume it. But it's about making informed decisions. And my fear is that between the collective ignorance of our OEM and dealership leadership, they're not making informed decisions.
Fantastic. Well, we're almost out of time, so let's start with DJ. Final thoughts on what dealers should do with websites to create better experiences and results.
Well, joining the conversation late, I guess it puts me at a little bit of a handicap on this one, but our belief is custom content. I work for a digital marketing agency, and we're all about custom content, custom, relevant, unique content. So a big first step would be to have somebody go through and sweep your site and remove everything that's cookie cutter, templated, that makes you look like everybody else, and replace that with custom, unique, and relevant content. And I mean, obviously, site speed is important, making sure you're not running old scripts or code from past vendors. A lot of times we see on mobile sites, a lot of dealers keep hopping. You have your dealers that are on that vendor carousel where they're on a new vendor every 3 months for marketing, and then everybody puts their codes on the site, and then they leave, and then they don't take it off. So going through and doing some cleansing or data hygiene of the website, making sure that we're taking down the stuff that we're moving past. Obviously, SEO, SEM, hugely important. You've got to show up organically. Well, I've heard over the years that if you're not showing up in SEO, then you shouldn't show up in SEM, or if you're not in SEM, you should be in SEO. But if you're in neither bucket, then clearly you have a problem, and you've got to investigate and find a suitable solution to where you can start ranking in your local market area for your brands. I think that those are some of the key highlights that every dealer needs to take a look at and make sure that they're showing up where they need to show up, making sure their website is clean, and making sure the consumer has a good shopping experience.
100%.
One thing we do is we go through and make sure that the VDP pages are set up for conversion, making sure that we're driving better and higher conversion rates, making sure that everything is easily identifiable, CTAs are all there. All of the things mentioned on this call, a lot of great stuff on this call. But yeah, going through and do some data hygiene on your website, really important.
Fantastic. Erin, I know you have no opinion on websites. I mean, what's your opinion on what dealers should do first?
It feels really arrogant to tell dealers what they should do. We should be listening to dealers so that they tell us what they need. Yeah. But if I'm going to pick, Mathew, I think you said something that would be a fantastic topic for a different panel, AI readiness. If mobile first was table stakes 10 years ago, AI readiness is today. So you need to be partnering with a website vendor who has the technical foundation in place to ensure that you're discoverable. From there, SEO is crucial. I joked on webinars that 20 years ago, all you had to do was slap a bunch of city names in the footer on your homepage. Boom, you did SEO. But not so much today. It's a lot more. So you've got to partner with somebody who does that fantastic SEO. You get that foundation in place. And now GEO is that extra piece that helps address the aspects most critical to not just be found on AI tools, but to be recommended. So we focused a lot of time and built a lot of resources for dealers to see exactly how they stack up against the competition too. It's one thing, find out, are you even showing up, but is the dealer across the street showing up more? That's important too. Fantastic. So updating content, DJ's right, nothing beats content, managing your reputation, but then you've got to track how you are standing in these LLMs and continue to improve. So I think that's the focus right now, and that's where we're spending a lot of time in technology.
Fantastic. Brooke, you have no opinion on what they should change first, I'm assuming. Go ahead.
No, and I know we're up against the clock, so I'll keep it really brief. Just at the end of the day, inspect what you expect. There's so much noise about AI. If you sucked at SEO before, I'm sorry, you suck now. That's just how it is. So if you think that some person's going to come in and magically overnight make you you show up, that's bullshit. They're selling you snake oil. If you weren't this schema markup, I've been talking about schema since 2011. This is nothing new. Having FAQ schema markup is only such a very small portion of it. Google actually came out 2 months ago and said they're actually downgrading the importance of it. So looking at all this stuff is again, there's a lot of third-party tools out there that are claiming to do AI visibility and blah, blah. Just taking the time, reach out to me. I can tell you the good, bad, ugly, whatever it is going to be. But like I said, we're up against the clock here. Just inspect what you expect from people, process, and product.
Fantastic. Jack, final thoughts?
Real quick, if your website is a party, and the invites are SEO and SEM and GEO. You shouldn't spend $50,000 on your invites and then have a crappy party. Really invest the time to make the party good, and the invites, they're important, but the party's key. So that's all I'll say.
And balloons don't sell cars, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Right, Philip, go ahead.
I love that analogy, Jack. I mean, I say the same thing. I mean, you know, like if you drive all this traffic to your site and you don't have a great experience, party sucks. They're gonna leave, right? And speaking of SEO, one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that or underutilized is video SEO, right? I mean, when you go and search for something on Google, everyone's thinking about being shown on the top 10 organic links, right? Either that or you pay to be on top, you know, VLA, Google VLA. But, you know, when you search for anything, if there's video results that comes back, it'll be right there. So, and, you know, so like for example, with our video, we're able to get them to the top relatively quickly because there's no competition out there. So we can, within the car still for sale, we can get it listed. Unfortunately, you know, Google owns YouTube, so they show mostly YouTube videos. So we create YouTube stuff. But if you Google say is if you have video on your website and you create a video sitemap, Googlebot will crawl it and will index it. It's just that, you know, they only show it on the video tab, unfortunately, not on the all tab. But maybe one day, you know, because, you know, Google's in trouble with the EU for monopoly over there. So maybe things can change here eventually, and then you know, you'll see more direct video thumbnails going to the dealership BVP, and that would be really great at that point. You know.
Thanks for that, Peter. Last final thoughts.
Hey, just first of all, I want to thank all the guests. This has been a phenomenal show. I've got 3 pages worth of notes. Appreciate all the great information. The one thing that I took away that really stood out in my mind was one of our panel said, the highest converting pages or the highest converting consumers are the ones that visit multiple VDP pages. And I've always been big on VDP pages. So I think for the dealers that are on listening to the show, focus on your VDP page. I feel that's very important. But here's a tip that I'm going to give the dealers. A lot of times, you know, that old saying, you can't see the forest through the trees. We're into this. And I think Brooke said it best, that we're so used to it. We're looking at it all the time. We're not looking at it like a consumer. If you really want to improve your customer experience, get a friend of yours, sit down with them in front of the computer and ask them to go through the buying process on your website or the shopping process. And you watch them and take notes and see what they're seeing. Have a consumer friend do it for you, because you're going to get great feedback. And then you can take all that great feedback and think about what you learned in the show today and make those changes. You know, so if I can make any recommendation, I would say, seriously, get somebody you trust, their opinion, and just sit down and spend an hour with them. Let them go and shop for a car on your website and see what the real experience is like. So you can go back and focus on making a better customer experience.
And definitely check out the show next week, how to save $100,000 in expenses at your automotive dealership. We're going to have CFOs on in addition to someone who can help you there. It's going to be the first show I've ever had a team of CFOs as guests, so it should be entertaining and interesting. And if you haven't got your tickets already for CX 2026 in Detroit, we're doing that in collaboration with Automotive News Congress. It's a 3-day event, so whether you're raising money for your business, you want to meet a bunch of OEMs and dealers, or you want to just learn about CX, which is obviously the hottest thing going in auto right now, definitely see us live. We'll be there helping out. Thanks for taking the time this week, and have yourself a great day. Really appreciate it. Bye for now.
Thanks again, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for helping the industry get better today live.